computer. Done.
Good afternoon, everyone. So, sorry for the uh, changing of the platform. So we have to have the meeting record. So that's why we have to bring you guys to Zoom. So you are welcome to Revoice Forum Virtual Meetup 4.0. And just as we've highlighted in our messages uh, and in our awareness, so the title is Influence Without Position. Influence without position. So each of every one of us are going to be in particular of this discussion where we'll be talking about how to be in a position of leadership then without even attaining any position. That is how to influence things. How to influence things. Actually, many things that we do see that do happen maybe in our vicinity, in churches, in schools and all that happens because some people give themselves to it. There are times that it's not that they are even selected or elected into a position. It might just be that they are able to wield influence. People have maybe over time they have been able to wield influence and they influence such maybe happenings or decisions taking place or decisions shaping our society. So today we'll be looking into that discourse at the here today we have our convener, Dr. Emmanuel Jesuyon Dansu, and then we'll be speaking elaborately on that. And then also we have our mentors and members here. So each of everyone is going to be a discussion for everyone, not just a discussion, a practical step also. So before I go further, let me introduce our speaker. He's a doctor of mathematics, currently a doctor of mathematics at the university in Japan. So not just mathematics, he's also into mathematical modeling, data analysis, and the fun fact there is that he's also the convener of the Labour Forum. So, and is a man passionate about growth, personal development of young men, not just young men, of youth as a whole. So today, can we make welcome Dr. Emmanuel Jesuyon Dansu? Can I see our emojis as we make welcome him to the platform as he
Thank
be
you so
leading
much.
all the that.
My head is swell. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, sir.
Thank you
Yes, sir.
plenty. I'm very grateful. I appreciate everyone who has
Welcome,
been
sir.
patient to wait till this time to even migrate from our former platform to this. And we thank our hosts on this platform, Sunday Timile and Yadeji. Thanks a lot. We have one of our big mentors in the house, Sausawe the Samuel, who has been such a blessing to us. We'll have some of our leaders here also in RBF. Of course, Israel, the moderator, is our programs lead. We have Maugbe, who is ever vibrant. He's our social lead. There's Badru Olamilekon, our admin lead. Then I see our, of course, our host was our programs lead before now. So thank you so much for the great job, everybody. Yeah, there's Joseph Atunde. We're very paddy in footer. Vion, there's Vion here. I'm not sure if it is Vion Dansu or another Vion. Which Vion is this?
It is beyond Gbonupo, sir. Joseph.
Okay. It says it's Patriot Vion Benupo. Nice to have you here. Yeah. Then Oluwapelumi Olamijulo. Thank you so much for being here. Success Nwachuku. So great to have you. Felix Jidonu. We are very glad to have you. There's Razak Avoseseido. Okay, we already have our title for today. It's about leadership without influence, and I have a slide to share. Um, I'll share later in the group also. So leadership without influence. Okay, let me just share my screen in case I have to migrate to other places. All right, so okay, can everybody see the slide now?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Okay, so let's just get going. Straight up. So influence without position is what we are looking at today, being Saturday 9th May 2026. Now, and I have a small rider that's saying lead before the title. Lead before the title. Many people today, when they hear about leadership, they think it's all about being president, being leader with a particular title and everything. But we've also seen people who have all these titles and they have no influence whatsoever. And according to John Maxwell, right, it says that leadership is influence. Leadership is influence. So if you can influence someone, if you have been able to convince someone that, oh, okay, maybe you have a TV in your room or in your hostel or something, and the person wants to watch Jennifer Diaries, and you're able to convince them to go and to watch behind the scene still by Jennifer. If you have been able to convince someone like that, you are already a leader. So if you can influence someone to make a decision to do something, you are already a leader. So now the question is, have you ever had a great idea but no authority to implement it? Maybe sometimes, I mean, I've been in many situations where I see that the way things are happening here, how I wish I have the power to make things happen here. I could have done better and all of that. So I know a lot of us will be in that situation, would have been in that situation before now. Or maybe you are currently in such a situation where you think you have a better idea, but you don't have the authority, you don't have the power to implement it. And that feels like what it feels like is that you have no title, you have no power, and probably no one is listening to you. And what it really means is that what you think is no title can actually mean an opportunity to earn trust, right? So you need an opportunity to earn trust with people. And once people can trust you, you can easily influence them. Then you also need room to add value. It feels like you have no power, right? No one is listening to you. But that is an opportunity for you to actually add value. And it's also probably going to give you space to lead early, you know. Now, have you been in a meeting too where I've been in meetings actually where I don't have any position, I don't have any title, but the leader is always looking at me like if there's going to be requests for any contribution, they are very concerned about me. They are very interested in whatever I have to say, even without me holding any particular title like that. So I think if there's one big deal we will gain from today's class is that from this webinar is that whether you have a title or not, it shouldn't be a blocker to your impact. That's one fact. As a matter, that's one fact. In fact, I remember when I was still in FUTA, right? I was very active in the student fellowship. I knew a particular brother who was never an executive, but when people had issues, they will go to the guy instead of going to maybe the president or the other excos. There was a particular thing about the person that, without his title, he had so much influence on people. In fact, even some of the executives were going to him for idea and things like that. So that's the kind of thing we should have. Of course, it's not like if you have position, it's a bad thing. So you already know if you have a position, you want to use it very well. So we are now looking at a scenario where, in case you don't have that position, is that the end of the story? So the big idea here is that influence is not about position. It is more about impact. So if you can have an impact on people's lives, they will actually turn to you for leadership. So why influence without position, influence even without position, why impact even without position matters is that many people wait for titles before they lead, and real influence ends trust and movement, and the habit starts before recognition. So, and the key thing here is that you need to start even before anybody sees you. And how does this start? The same John Maxwell, of course. John Maxwell is by far one of the most influential leaders on the when it comes to the subject of leadership. And it says something like, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. So to start gaining trust, to start influencing people, it starts by you caring for them. When people know that you genuinely care for them, they want to hear you out, they want to listen to what you have to say. Am I too fast already? Am I too fast? Can everybody hear me? Is my pace okay?
Yes, yes, sir.
Okay. All right, all
Yes,
right.
sir.
Because I'm excited about this topic, so I can easily get carried away. Thank you. So you need to start before you are seen, and that start can be about caring for people. So do you genuinely care for people? Not like, some people when they know when they don't know who you are, when they don't know some people don't care about who you are. What I'm just there's this idea I'm trying uh to articulate. Some people, they are nice to you because they think they can get something from you. So, but the deal is, why not just be nice to everybody instead of, I mean, I've been disrespected before. I remember still in futsal, right? When I was already like maybe assistant lecturer or something. So, and if you know me very well, I'm usually wearing my jeans and t-shirt because I just like my simple life. I like my comfort and everything. So the person, yeah, if I let me, the story is coming back very, very well now. So, there was this time Futa had this diploma program, and it was that diploma program that became UABS that Futa has, and that's University Advanced Basic Science program that you do for 2 years, and then from there you go to 200 level straight, that kind of thing. So before it became UABS, right? So somebody in my department who was teaching in that program, he wasn't going to be available, so he needed somebody to stand in for him. So I went to stand in. So as I went in, then I think I was just a graduate assistant, fresh from youth service or something like that. But I was not, nevertheless a staff in the maths department in Futa, and so there was this that so these guys were having a couple of exams. So they finished the paper and they were moving to another room. So the way I was dressed, as usual, my jeans and t-shirt, right? So there was this other lecturer that saw me and was like, if to my Ujue. Like maybe the way I was walking or something was maybe she felt I was too confident, for a student, and she was like, "To my Ujue," instead of like move quickly to the next place. And I didn't answer. Normally, I should have said, "Do you know who you are talking to?" I didn't bother. I didn't say anything. So by the time the students had settled down and we're going to share scripts. So interestingly, we're in the same room. We're in charge of invigilating the same room and everything. So by the time she saw me sharing script, she nearly froze, and she that was when she realized what she had done. And she started apologizing that, "Oh, I'm very sorry. I thought you were a student." I'm like, "No problem." So I'm very sure that she felt terribly embarrassed. And for me, I'm like, even if I was a student, do students deserve to be treated disrespectfully? So why not just treat everybody very well so that whether they are president or they are nothing, as far as by your reckoning, you'll still be fine. So let's look at the myth versus the reality when it comes to influence without position. The myth is when I get a title, people will listen. All right. Of course, that's valid too. That's actually valid, but that's just half of the story. But the reality is that when people trust me, they will listen to you. Even if you have a title and people cannot trust you, they won't listen to you. But when people can trust you, they will listen to you. And sometimes it's even from the place of people being able to trust you that they'll be like, "Oh, if you need a leader, this guy is our leader." I remember my first, of course, in secondary school, right? Our mentor Sal Samuel was he was my senior in Badagi Grammar School, for instance. So I was an exco, both in fellowship and was a school prefect, right from SS1, SS1, SS2, SS3, in fellowship, in school. I was an exco all the way, right? And so when I left there, I didn't go straight to the university. I went to study marine engineering at Federal College of Fisheries and Marine Technology in Victoria Island. And so when I got in, I mean, for people that know me, there's this. Some people may just not know that I have a political side to me. I'm a very political person when it comes to maybe student politics, or even I'm just interested in world politics. In fact, so at that point in time, when I got in, maybe after one semester, so all these student representative council things, right? So I discovered, oh, I could actually be student representative for my class. That's year one marine engineering department. So I had some contenders. I had people I was competing with and everything. But guess what? So that was just our first semester. Nobody really knew anybody like that. But right from BGS, I'd always been this person who would teach tutorials. I just enjoyed teaching. I was all over the place teaching and teaching. So, and the school is a very funny school because what we used to say then was that to every girl there were 10 guys because we had very few ladies because the school was a monotechnic, and we basically had marine engineering, nautical science, and fisheries. So most of the ladies were in fisheries. Even with their numbers in fisheries, it was still like ratio 1 to 10. So if you had a girlfriend in that school, you'd be boss. that kind of thing. But somehow, because I was already always teaching tutorials, all the girls in the department, they were on my side. And if you have a population of 1 million and you have one woman, if the woman is supporting you, you are the winner already. So, but and that came not because I had any title, but because I already find a way to serve, not even knowing that the time was going to come that I would need their votes. So I started teaching. So I was always teaching tutorials. So when the elections came, I spoke the small English I could speak, and the rest was history. I became a member of SRC. After that year, I became the clerk of the house and things like that. And that was a very so when people can trust you, they know that you care about them, they will listen to you. But if you have a title and people don't trust you, people they'll still not listen to you. So in as much as title is good, trust is more important. So, and talking about influence, I've already made reference to the fact that leadership is influence. And John Maxwell again says leadership is influence, like I said, and he says that everything rises and falls on leadership. And so, and even leadership, like some people say, also means it starts from you leading yourself. If you cannot lead yourself, it will be hard for you to lead others. So it is being able to lead yourself that that we talk about you taking responsibility. And if you are responsible for yourself, then it's now easy to be responsible for other people, to take care of other people, and to be concerned genuinely about others. So influence can be seen to be trust, your value, and your consistency. Now, all these components are very important. If you remove any one of these, that won't make any sense. So if people can trust you today and they cannot trust you tomorrow, I mean, it makes no sense. And people can only trust you because of your values, right? If you have good values that people can align with, even the bad people, they know good values, right? Even been in a case where maybe they want to there's an association and they want to save their money, they want to keep money with someone. Even the thieves among them will not want to save money with their fellows. They want to look for that person that they call pastor, or that person that they call, that they feel is has integrity. Even those that don't have integrity are looking for people that have integrity to entrust their resources to, right? So your values will make people trust you, and your consistency in these values will actually make you have influence. So, it start with, so trust, value, consistency, impact, and influence in that continuum like that. So people notice titles, but they follow credibility. So of course, because I'm the convener of RBF, right? It is very easy for people to notice me. But I mean, I've also seen people in the group that though they are not, they are not even mentors. Maybe they are just even undergraduates. But based on the kind of contribution they make, they have been noticed. I discovered that whenever Malgbe is leading on a weekly basis, there are some people he tags. So sometimes when he tags people, I'm like, how does Malgbe know this particular person? So it means that that person must have said something, must have done something, must have made a particular contribution for them to be credible enough to be tagged to such that their opinion will be important in whatever discussions we are having at any point in time. So you see, people notice titles, but they follow credibility. So it's even better if you have the title and you have credibility. But if you must have one of title or credibility, go for credibility, go for values that people can trust for sure. So I'll talk about 5 pillars of influence here. And of course, this is one discourse that goes on even in our politics in Nigeria. People talk about character, competence, and things like that. So here, of course, you can swing it in whatever way. But in this particular place, I'm talking about character, competence, communication, connection, and courage. So, I mean, we've had people with character that are not competent at the end of the day to be a disaster, right? We have competent people who are crooked. It is still a problem. But if you have character, you're competent, you can communicate well, you can connect. Sometimes you're doing a lot, but because you don't communicate properly, nobody knows what you are doing. And then, of course, courage. There are times that you have to make very hard decisions. And, in such a time, what do you do? So think of influence as a stool with 5 legs. If one is weak, your impact becomes unstable. Imagine if you take character out and you just have competence, you can communicate well, you can connect, you have courage. People will just know that, oh, this is a very efficient crook. Then you have then you imagine you remove competence, you are a good person, you can communicate well, you can connect, you have courage. You are incompetent, so there's going to be mediocre results, right? So you have character, you have competence, you can communicate, but you cannot connect with people. Of course, it's somehow, right? Communication and connection would almost likely go together, right? So, but if you communicate in such a way that it's not connecting with the people, right, you won't be able to sell your ideas to them. or you have character, competence, communication, connection, and then you do not have courage. So when problem comes, you run away. So at the end of the day, nobody wants to trust somebody who cannot face difficult situations and and make a way out of that. So let's start with character, right? Character is about integrity. Integrity builds credibility. So, as a leader, if you want to be a leader, even I mean, if you want to have influence, even without having a position, right? You need to have character. You need to have integrity, which builds credibility. You need to be dependable. Can people depend on you? Can you be that person in a group where they say, "Oh, we need to keep our money with somebody. We don't trust anybody apart from Felix Jidonu, so let's give our money to him." And one way to also be show that you're a person of character is that you do what you say. I've seen leaders sincerely who they just make promises, they say the nice words, but when it's time to deliver, they are nowhere to be found. So they just feel that they can buy their way out. Or some people just have that character flaw where they just say things that they don't mean. And for me, I've learned to not say what I mean. I mean to only say what I mean and to mean what I say. So sometimes you are tempted to just say words that just to get yourself out of a particular situation, but at the end of the day, that won't make any sense. So who you are speaks louder than what you say, right? You can say whatever you want to say, but at the end of the day, can you make good of your promises? Can you actually do what you say? Do you mean what you say? Now we go on to talk about competence. How do you build competence? You have to be good at something valuable, right? One of the biggest influences I had when I was doing my PhD, sometimes I jokingly say that when I was doing my PhD, at the end of the PhD, I was supposed to get my PhD in mathematical biology and also like maybe a PhD in physiology and all in psychology because I followed uh, Jordan Peterson a lot. Like while I was doing my research, I would listen to those is lengthy talks, all those 3 hour, 2 hour talks. And then along the line, so I began to get ideas uh, about how to be visible on social media and things like that. There's this funny thing people say that if I Google you and you're not online, it's as good as you don't exist in this modern world, right? So except maybe you are an FBI agent or a CIA agent or somebody who maybe you belong to the secret service of a country, but apart from that, visibility is everything. And one thing we've always said also is that people are getting benefit. People who don't know one quarter of what they are getting all the benefits because they are visible. So it's better to be seen, to be visible with of course with competence, of course, because the funny thing again is even mediocre stuff are selling a lot on social media. So you that have substance, you should not be hiding, right? So to be competent, you need to be good at something valuable. So one person I also followed that time was Douglas Kruger, a South African, he's a public speaker, a business person, and all of that. And he talked about the idea of having knowledge. So you want to be knowledgeable about something, and then apart from that, you want to have personality. And then after personality, the next thing is you now need to have publicity. So knowledge, for instance, for me, I studied mathematics, right? So that time, one thing I learned from me is that, oh, you know maths, right? Personality, do people trust you without mathematics? And then publicity is now that when you get to that point, that okay, once you have a math problem, which name comes to your mind first of all? Until your name is is number one, or at least your name is top three in the minds of people. That, oh, if you have a math problem, go and meet Dansu. You have not. It means you have not got to that point where you have that personality and publicity for what you exactly do. So from there, I began to build on that and all that until all of a sudden, somebody who is teaching, maybe they are doing assignment for their son or daughter and they are stuck. They'll be like, Dansu, please come and save me. There's this assignment. Then somebody in the US will just send. Even when I was still in Nigeria, right, somebody in the US who was a master's student will send somebody who had thought that, oh, I beg, let me just pass this maths in footer and go and try and get out of this place. Maybe somebody who studied architecture or some other course that felt that, oh, they don't ever have any business with maths, and they'll go to the US and they encounter calculus and they'll be like, what do I need calculus for in architecture? And then so they'll send so whenever they had assignment, they'll send the questions to me. I'll solve it, scan it, and send it back to them. So when it got to that point, I knew that okay, now it's like we are getting somewhere. And so I was able to do that successfully with mathematics. And in the last three and a half years, moved into the area of data, anything data, and all of a sudden I'm also becoming a go-to person when it comes to data, machine learning, and things like that. So that's like the kind of thing. So in your own field, you need to be good at something valuable, and you have to keep learning, which I've already demonstrated. So all the while, I'd always done the classical maths, differential equations, mathematical models, and then at some point I now discovered, oh, now that data is the new oil. I think somebody, Clive Humby or somebody was the one who said that data is a new oil. Somebody said, in God we trust. Every other person should bring data. So data is really important. So I had to reinvent myself to get into that data world, right? So how do you show you build competence by being good at something valuable, and by learning continuously. And then you show competence by solving problems and by delivering consistently. And what we have shown my competence is by having a YouTube channel, which I started like 2 years ago, and it has been of tremendous blessing to so many people, you know. And somehow I've been able to be consistent with that a lot. So so as I'm saying this thing, you want to relate it to yourself and see, okay, in what way can I actually build competence? In what way can I show my competence? And I've shown you these days you don't need to go on NTA anymore. If you are spending money for publicity on NTA, you're wasting your time, because there's Facebook, there's X, there's LinkedIn, there is Instagram. Those are the places you'll be facing. Don't waste your money on TV and radio anymore. So when it comes to communication, of course, you want to be able to speak clearly. Of course, sometimes some people think that speaking is the only thing about communication. Sometimes listening actively is even more important than speaking clearly. In fact, you cannot speak clearly if you don't listen actively. In fact, especially as somebody who wants to have influence without position, people will remember that, oh, when I was in trouble, this guy listened to me. Do you know that most of the people that come with issues, it's not like they're even looking for a solution from you. They're just looking for somebody to listen to them. Because in the process of talking to you, if you can listen actively without interrupting, which is hard to do, by the way, in the process of talking to you, they end up doing all the talking and preferring the solutions to the problem by themselves. And by the time they are done, they will appreciate you, like you solved a big problem in their lives by just listening actively. So listening is as good as speaking when it comes to communication. And of course, in listening actively too, one way to show you are listening actively, you are asking smart questions. You're asking questions that can actually bring people down to whatever is causing the issues they have. I discovered this in myself, a long time ago, that I have some kind of grace to ask you questions that will make you find answer to your own problems, like that. So sometimes and even me, when I'm having a conversation with someone, I get solutions to my own problems even from that kind of conversation, just asking questions and going back and forth like that. That's why I love gist a lot. So because people enjoy clarity, people follow clarity, and clarity is all about speaking clearly, listening actively, and asking smart questions. And that's all of that summed up means you are communicating effectively. And then we go to the fourth pillar of connection, where you build relationships. Now you see, um I don't know who, I've forgotten who said this thing, that you should use, okay, some people use people and care for things instead of caring for things, instead of caring for people and using things. So relationships are very important. Of course, human beings are very complicated. You have the good people, the bad people, and the ugly people. But guess what? If you close your eyes, that you don't want to see bad people, you also not see the good people too. So then you now need a serious skill to be able to relate to everybody at their level without them messing you up, right? So, and for me, one thing I used to say as an undergraduate then was, everybody in the class was my friend. Even the aristo in class was my friend. But there are some people we can be together for 24 hours. Some people we can be together for 1 second, but that 1 second I make it count very well, because I'll greet you like you're the most important thing after Akara, that kind of thing. So once you build relationships, you want to do all that. I remember one thing I used to do that time. One way to connect with people very easily is to remember their names. I remember as a year one student in Futa back then, there was this particular lady. So we're just walking. I was walking. I never met her before. That was my first. I never met her before. Freshers now. So, and I discovered, oh, somebody was saying. So she was discussing with somebody else. I was just passing. And I just discovered the person was like, oh, Kemi, blah blah blah, microbiology, blah blah blah. So I just carried that thing in my head and I kept it. Somewhere along the line, I just met Kemi. And I'm like, hey, Kemi, what's up? She was so shocked that, who are you? I've never met you before. How do you know my name? I'm now like, are you not in microbiology? I was like, ah. So from there, anytime she saw me, she would just, make a kind of gesture, like she was greeting me so respectfully. People like the sound of their names. So one way to connect easily with people is to know their names. So I used to be very good with names, right? Like, I'll know your name, your three names, like Israel Inioluwa Ogundare. Like, I hope I got the surname right. So I used to be very good with names like that until I started teaching like 1,500 students in Futa. So the names now it now became very hard for me. But at least if you have a one-on-one encounter, so I'll retain the name as much as possible. So you want to build relationships, even with random people. So somebody talked about it's, I think, one of Steven Strogatz is a researcher in network science and dynamical systems, and he and his one of his students, Dodd Watts, also they wrote a book called the Strength of Weak Ties. Now, you are likely, and one of the essence of that is that, okay, I mean, two things you can remember from the strength of weak ties is that the connection between you and any random person anywhere in the world, you have just about six people to connect you with any random person. Even in this age of social media, it even becomes easier. That, imagine if I pick Israel Ogundare in Ibadan and I pick any random Ashley White in, say, Perth, Australia. So, if you check properly, in six connections, you can reach that person. Then another thing you can also learn about the strength of weak ties is that there's every likelihood that somebody who is not in your circle, in your regular circle, is more likely to open a new door of opportunity to you than somebody who is already in your regular circle. Because of course, the people in your circle, they are already, you share the same ideas. You already probably have access to the same kind of opportunities and everything. And that is why, even for introverts like us, it's always very instructive to be able to step out of our boundaries. So they said they have a party. Of course, when they say party in Japan, it's not that place where you go. It's not like a nightclub or anything. Just like a place where you hang out and maybe you just drink green tea, drink Coke, or of course people that also drink their beer. They might be doing their things, but most times it's not necessarily about that. It's just about, just you hanging out and meeting new people. I mean, it was in doing that my wife, with her third class, was able to get a master's position in this same Tohoku University. She just went for a ladies hangout. Sorry, Kenyan ladies. She just went there and they were just gisting. And somebody was just like, "Oh, come to my department. If you have bachelor's degree in any field, you're able to come. So once you have a bachelor's degree, it doesn't even matter. You can come study economics or management." That's how she got into master's program. So build relationships actively. It can be very costly to build and maintain relationships. That's one thing. And that's why for some of us, we would rather just stay back in our house and just have a nice time on our own. But, I mean, stepping out can make the difference between you and your next level, right? So you also want to show genuine interest in people. Of course, the idea is you want to build influence without position, right? So you want to build relationships. You want to be able to connect to people easily. And just like I said, even from the get-go, that if you show genuine interest in people, you can connect better with them, and you can influence them because they can trust you, because they know you are genuinely interested in them. You are not fake, right? Then, support others, of course. I mean, I've said that a lot. Then create mutual trust. Let it be clear to people that you're not trying to take advantage of them. You're just trying to be sincerely helpful. Of course, some people who have had maybe some traumatic experiences, they still find it difficult to, if you are caring for them, they are suspecting you, like, is this person for real? But of course, it's not like you don't want to be overbearing, so you cannot force one thing I've also learned, because for people like us that tend to have some kind of saviors complex, we feel that we owe the world, and the world doesn't owe us. That can be a very problematic thinking too, right? Like, sometimes you just want to solve everybody's problem, and you don't care if anybody solves their own problem or not. So that balance is really important. So some people are they are suspicious that, why is this person so nice to me? Hope it's not that this person needs something from me and all that, But over time, right? People can see that you really care like that. You want to create mutual trust. You want to live your life in such a way that people can trust you. They can lose their guard around you without getting harmed. That's very rare in our world. So if you can be in this kind of space, it means that you are 1% of the 1% in the world, because the world is a very cruel place. So it's difficult to find people that are so reliable, people that can be trusted. So if you can be trusted, you are already set up for greatness for sure. Then of course we talk about courage. Courage means speaking up respectfully. I have a very funny experience when it comes to courage, right? Like I told you earlier, I was this growing up, right? I was this very nice guy. I just wanted to be nice to everybody, wanted to solve everybody's problem. In fact, I had a mantra that, I owe the world something, but nobody owes me anything. I discovered later that that was a very terrible way to think, right? In as much as I owe the world also owes me. Then I should also, I should not also destroy myself while trying to solve the problem of the world, that kind of thing. So I got to learn that along the line. But at some point I discovered, oh, it was so hard for me to say no. And I discovered that was such a big issue. And along the line, I encountered Pastor Tunde Bakari, right? I would listen to his messages. And particularly on the 1st of October 2004. Then I think I was rounding off my diploma program in marine engineering on Victoria Island then. So I followed that campus photographer, then Covenant to Ikeja, Adebola House. So that they had this program called Take a Public Stand Against Corruption. And I discovered how he was mentioning people's names without being afraid, how he was not afraid of being arrested and everything. I was like, this man, like, I want to be like this now. Not me that if you say me, even something that will hurt me, I'll say yes. So at that time, I started praying one stupid prayer that God help me to be help me to be like Tunde Bakari. Help me to be bold like him, help me to be courageous like him. Not it felt like a very good prayer until I went for youth service in Katsina State, and I was prayer secretary of NCCF in Katsina State, and would have general executive meetings where all the zonal president will come to the state family house and all that. And of course, I also had prayer units where I was the leader and things like that. And I would so when people were giving their reports, I was so judgmental. I was so, of course, it will start like excellence, right? You want everything to be proper. The comma has to be in the right place. The words must not be spelled as WS. It has to be WAS. Everything has to be on point, right? So I was so hard on people. The day I knew that I had lost it was when, before a meeting, two people came to my room and they're like, Preyo, please, can you help us check this report before we go for the meeting? Do you know what I did? I was just like, don't worry, just go. That day, I just knew that I had overstepped already. So I started praying that, God, please, I don't want to be like Pastor Bakari again. I want to be like Jesus. Esha, me like I was already like a terror. Like once I was in a meeting, people just knew that your reports just had to be on point. If it wasn't like it was a bad thing to look for excellence, right? But there's a way you can be pushing for excellence in a judgmental and caustic and toxic way. I think I was already bordering on that. So, and I now remember, oh, nation and this prayer where I pray. So that doesn't make Pastor Bakari a bad person, right? But I mean, he's who he is. But I should be who I should be, what God wants me to be, not not anybody else. Of course, you can draw inspiration from people and all that, right? So courage does not mean that disrespecting people. It means you are speaking your truth, you are speaking your mind rather respectfully. You are speaking your mind in such a way that you're not putting down anybody. But but at the same time, because you just also want to respect people, you can find it difficult to speak your mind. That can be a problem. Then of course you want to share ideas, you want to take initiative. So, like, one thing I pride myself in is the fact that any fellowship, any church I've ever attended, or any fellowship I've ever attended, I always have somebody, I always leave somebody there. Like, I always start a new thing there that probably still continues till today. Every church I've attended, if you go to my church in Badagry today, there's somebody there who came into that church through me. Or if it is fellowship, there was something I did in that fellowship that is still enduring. Or there was somebody I handed over to, or there was something like that. Like, so when I get somewhere, I'm looking for a way to actually solve their problem, a way to, you know, in our church in Akure, where I'm also a pastor, right? So it was all those days of button phones. It's not now that we have Android phones all over the place. I'll just use there was this phone I had. Was it Sendo C5 or something? I've forgotten what the phone name was, right? So, or Sagem C5 or something. So when the pastor was preaching, I was typing because it just came naturally to me to write. So I mean, that's why I've been secretary in most places where I've ever found myself. So when the pastor was preaching, I'll be typing, typing, typing. By the time I was done, I'll edit the message and put it on Facebook. Personal initiative. And after some time, I discovered, oh, pastor will come. The pastors will also come that, Emmanuel, was that the one that preached that message you posted on your Facebook? And I'm like, yeah, it was. That was my own rendering of your message. And they'll be like, that thing where you type, self, it's sweet pass, waiting me, I preach you. And I'll be like, you preached it. I mean, your name is on top of it. It's just what I gleaned from. If you did not say it, I wouldn't probably have been able to write that. So guess what? After some time, the thing became so cool that today we have editorial unit in our church in Akure, Power and Glory Tabernacle, and it started from that initiative I took to, nobody sent me out. That was just me keeping my personal record and posting messages on Facebook, and then it became a whole unit in the church. So that's taking initiative, right? And of course, in doing that, you may be wondering, me, I was just even doing my thing. I didn't even know that anybody was going to see it. I was just doing my own thing. So to show you are courageous, you need to speak up respectfully, share ideas, take initiative, because courage gives you a value. Courage gives your value a voice. Courage is you speaking up that, oh, it's not everybody, like, when people, in our days, right, when issues about sex comes up, it's very easy to just chicken out and not say anything. You have your values inside you, but you don't want anybody to look at you like you're not a cool person, so you want to keep it to yourself. But courage means speaking up and say, oh, sex before marriage is wrong. It's not the ideal way to go. And one of the reasons why many marriages actually fail is because when you should be talking about real issues before marriage, you are having sex, and then that numbs your senses to talk about issues that really matter. So, or one way to show courage these days is, how can me, a PhD in mathematics, be talking about Bible, or talking about Jesus online? Because to some people, being a religious person as a scientist is a dumb thing to do. Like, how can you be a scientist and be talking about and be religious? But courage means, yes, I'm a mathematician. I have a PhD in mathematics, but I'm a Jesus boy, shamelessly, because people also show their stupid things online shamelessly too. Why can't I be proud of my own belief? That's courage too. So those are the 5 pillars. So practical ways to influence today would include things like bringing solutions and not complaints. Of course, it's very easy to complain. Of course, all of us have complained a lot about our country, for instance. But in your own little corner, what are you doing to solve the problem? For instance, our educational system can be very problematic. But I mean, for me, my little way, I'm using my YouTube channel to solve that problem as much as possible. So at least if you have problems with maths, just go to my YouTube channel or data science. You can find maths taught by a Nigerian in a way that can be easy for Nigerians to understand, and even people from the rest of the world are also finding it very useful. So what can you do in your own little corner to solve the problem? Then add value in conversations. So when people are speaking, you're not just there just saying ooh, ooh, ooh. You're also so when you speak, let it, I mean, you want to get to that point where when they're having a conversation, whatever you say is more like the final touch to the question, not because you are forcing it on them, but because your idea is so valuable that they are just like, let's forget about every other thing. This thing where Israel talk, oh, now the thing be this. So that's how you have influence even when you don't have a position. So you also want to volunteer for responsibility. Guess what? If you are looking for a job, if you've been looking for a job all this while and you don't have a job, a very easy way to have a job is to volunteer. Because when you have worked freely and you have given your best without being paid, if they are looking for somebody to pay, it's very easy. Now, the job I had as assistant professor, right? I was in the lab on a pro bono because I didn't get funding. So, but it was being in the lab working for free, and position just opened up, and the professor was just like, "Are you interested? You're here already. You don't need an interview." And I'm like, "Of course, I'm already here working for free. Why not?" And guess what? So don't be afraid. Don't be don't be, push yourself forward. Volunteer. If you want to work in a company and they're asking for volunteers, in fact, you can even go there by yourself and say, "Can I volunteer here? I just want to volunteer here to gain some experience." Guess what? I'm sure that after some 3, 4, 5 months, when there's a vacancy and they see you have added value, they want to, before they think of people from outside, they already know you. They take you very easily, right? So of course, helping others to succeed is also another way to have influence. I wrote something on LinkedIn like a couple of maybe like 1 month ago that my position was going to end. I was looking for a new job. Immediately I posted that thing. My my WhatsApp, my DMs were just flooded with all kinds of opportunities, and people keep tagging me to things, keep sharing opportunities. In fact, the one that really shook me the most was somebody who sent me a job in his university. And the last time we ever discussed was when he reached out to me that he was going to that same university as a postdoc and he needed a connection there. And I linked him up with somebody. He was so excited to share that opportunity with me that so it was more like a payback time. So if you help others succeed, it's very easy for you to have influence. Like you don't even have to beg them to do anything for you before they do it willingly. In fact, they do it joyfully. So of course, follow through consistently. So mean what you say and say what you mean. Don't say I'll do it and then tomorrow you just look at the person, you meet the person you promised and it feels like you never made any promise. So we have real life examples, like, so you need to be able to organize, solve, and guide, right? What you do, you organize the team even when you're not the leader, right? In your own little way. Of course, if there's a leader, you want to be careful so that it doesn't look like you are trying to take up their roles. No, that's not the issue. You're not trying to compete for somebody who has the title. But in fact, let the leader know that you are very loyal to them. But in your own little way, you're taking initiative to help them succeed, right? Then you also solve issues. What that means is you're already creating trust and direction even before you have the title. And that is actual influence, right? They organize people, solve their problems, guide them, support the leader who has the title, in as much as possible, right? So what stops people from from having influence without position? They are fearful, they are doubting themselves, they are waiting. Thankfully, one of the discussions we had during this week was it this week or last week, that people want to get everything right before they move out. No, in as much as you have a little bit of idea of what you are doing, just step out. In stepping out, you start getting clarity. And I always like to use the example of my YouTube channel. When I started my YouTube channel, I didn't know how I was going to, I didn't even know what to do. Like, so I on Zoom, right? I opened whiteboard and I was writing on the whiteboard. So I discovered if I was writing normally on the Zoom whiteboard, it was fine. But once I started recording, the marker became very wobbly. It was just not looking nice. You can go back and look at my video, my first set of videos on matrices. You'll discover that the first video was so wobbly. So to solve that problem, I discovered, okay, I now discovered, okay, instead of doing that, maybe I should just I'll solve all the problem on the whiteboard first. Then so when it was time to make the video, then I'll just explain what I had been recording. Along the line, somebody was just like, it would have been fine if you are writing the steps as you are saying it. And I'm like, that's what I really wanted to do, but it wasn't easy. Then from there I discovered, okay, I could actually make slides and teach with slides. That's why if you see my videos, you see some are slides, especially the one on basic calculus, for instance. It was a slide I made a long time ago for an e-platform. So I will use that to explain. But people just wanted to write. So along the line, somebody saw me. I was like, oh, I saw that you don't, yeah, you don't write when you teach. You just explain. And I'm like, I really want to. And the person introduced me to OneNote. And with OneNote, I just discovered, oh, this is the issue. So with OneNote, I can write and I can be teaching and writing at the same time, and all the problems I had previously was solved. Along the line, I'd always known Google Colab, and I discovered, oh, with Google Colab, I can teach, I can write out mathematical equations, I can write codes, I can write explanations in one place, and that's why today I use Google Colab to explain the concepts, and then I use OneNote to solve the problem, maybe to solve some practice problems and things like that, or if I need to explain something. So imagine if I had just started out with that wobbly whiteboard. So I kept calibrating until so we got the thing to where it is now, and within a space of just 2 years, we've had like 1,300 videos on different aspects of mathematics and data analysis. So if you keep waiting, you won't get anything done. Of course, comparison, you are comparing yourself with somebody. So you are good until you start looking at your neighbor who has something. I mean, everybody has something better than you, but in the same way, you have something better than everybody. So there's this interesting Yoruba proverb I like that. Everybody has something except those that think that their own is not enough. I don't yeah, something in that line. So fear of rejection, lack of confidence, waiting for permission, and comparing people ourselves to others is what keeps us from actually beginning to have influence before we even have a position, a title, right? So how do you start today? Step one, speak up. Step two, you learn. Step three, help people. Step four, initiate. Speak once in every meeting. Any meeting you go to, don't be that shy person. Maybe you even have the best idea, but nobody knows because you don't speak. Then learn one new skill monthly. Of course, you don't just speak empty words. If you also speak empty words, people will know that, oh, this person does not have substance. So you want to speak anything you say, let it carry weight. And what will make it carry weight is the kind of books you have read, the kind of messages you have listened to, and all of that. Then learn one new skill monthly if possible. Or maybe that can come down to maybe reading one book every month. There's no how you'll be a voracious reader that you won't be a solid contributor to anywhere you find yourself. Then help one person daily in not in any simple way. It might just be a simple WhatsApp message just to encourage the person. That might make a difference in somebody's life. Then take one initiative weekly. Think of what you can do in your environment, any new environment or any environment you find yourself. What is that one thing you can do, to on a weekly basis? Think about that. Then if in a digital age, right? We're in a digital age right now. In a digital world, your influence travels faster than your title, right? So these days, you have influencers all over the place, and people who nobody would have paid attention to in the last 5 years, they are now influencers that brands are calling them for deals, right? So digital influence still requires character, competence, communication, connection, and courage, just like we said. And you need to be credible before you are visible, right? So of course we also know that incredibility also sells these days. You can be doing rubbish on social media and you're making money, but you don't want to be that, right? That's why you're a real boy in the first place. So credibility, you should be a credible person before you become visible. Then you should have clarity in every message. You should be consistent across platforms. So you are not a you are not an Olosho on Facebook and then you go to LinkedIn and are forming professional. Because these days, in fact, if you are going for an American visa interview, your social media handles you have to write them down because they are going to check out everything. So you want to be consistent across platforms. Of course, different platforms require different kind of messaging. Of course, in as much as you are doing different kind of messaging, you want to be able to be consistent. Of course, people also want to see that you are a playful person. You're not you are also you can play too, not like everything is busy, busy, busy. So when they come to LinkedIn and they see you in your suit with all the profile and they go to Twitter, you are not part of the people trolling people and just cursing people out. And when you get to Facebook, let them see that, oh, this guy can also, you can do small, you can have sensible humor, right? So value people. So you need to hold values people can share and character people can trust and wisdom before speed. You want to have all of these things in place in the digital world. So how do you influence online wisely? Again, you speak up, you learn, you help and initiate. So post ideas that solve real problems. Let's make a post and let people say thank you very much for that post. That helped me a lot. Engage with respect, not aggression. Even when people disagree with you, you don't have to curse them out. You don't have to send them to their father's house. You can disagree with people without being disagreeable, like people say. Then you want to build trust through consistency. So you want to show up constantly that people know that, oh, this guy is really into what he's doing. Then let your online life match your real values. Don't. So many people are rich. Everybody is rich on Facebook until you meet them in real life. You now know that many people are just living fake lives. The digital pitfalls to avoid, of course, fear again, doubt, waiting, and comparison, like I said before, but in the digital sense now, you want to avoid chasing attention over substance and reacting before thinking. So sometimes when there's this guy on Facebook who, there's some things he does about pastors and everything. I somehow feel that he can do it in a better way, but I don't know how else he should do it. So because of that, I've been thinking of how do I really engage this person, but I don't know yet. So don't just jump. So I know one day is going to come. I'm going to have a lot of clarity, and I'll be bold to go and meet him and say, guy, this thing can be done better like this. So you have to choose, you have to avoid chasing attention over substance because it is very easy to chase attention if you are chasing Facebook money, YouTube money, and all the X money and everything. So people can do all kinds of crazy stuff because they are looking for attention. Just like somebody claimed to have cancer just for attention. I mean, people go to some funny lengths. That don't react before you think before you react, like I've told you. Then choose instead building trust over time and use your voice to edify. So it is better to build organically than to just do anything just to build audience. Because any audience, like a Yoruba proverb again says that a house you build with your spittle, a deal will break it down, right? Ilé tá bá fi tọ́mọ irin ni ó wò. So you do not need a title to lead. These are our key takeaways. And influence is built and not given. People don't give you influence. You build it by how you treat people, by how you communicate, by how you show courage and all that. Digital platforms amplify who you are, right? So use digital platforms to your advantage. If people can use it to amplify their foolishness, use it to amplify, to show them that you are wise. Then credibility beats position. So it is better to be credible than to have position. Then integrity matters both online and offline. Final challenge: lead now, let recognition catch up later. So don't care about the title, just do the right thing, and the title will catch up. Thank you. Feel free to ask questions and make your contributions. Lead now, influence starts before recognition. Thank you so much for listening.
Wow.
Over to
Thank you
you.
so much, sir.
Right.
Thank you so much, sir, for the wonderful presentation and discourse. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
This kind of opportunity really comes. Imagine learning what you will learn maybe in a seminar or workshop, the leadership seminar, learning it under maybe 1 hour and other. You see, you can see that is a real privilege. So these are what are being taught in leadership class and all that. And then here we have it with Dr. Dansu taking us into it in total. Thank you so much, sir.
My pleasure. Thank you.
We'll be having our question and answer right away. So I would like us to raise our hands and or drop our questions in the chat box or use the raising hand emoji if you have questions and answer. Leadership, if you want to influence, you shouldn't wait. I take note of that very well. Don't wait. Don't wait until you get everything. Start now. Start now. That's the courage. That's the courage. Start now. Start now. Don't let anything to limit us. Okay, let me check to the. Yes, I shouldn't destroy myself while trying to solve people's problem. That you are a leader or trying to influence things doesn't mean that you should be everywhere. Just that the Holy Scripture will say, wisdom is profitable to do what? To direct. So as a leader who is going to be directing things, then you actually need wisdom to do things perfectly, to do things in the right way. So I'm still expecting us to drop our questions.
Want to ask directly to can raise their hands. I think I can see some hands raised.
Okay. 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 Sorry. Chukwemeka, Chukwemeka, you have the floor. You can ask your question, sir.
It's good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, Doctor. How you doing, sir?
Good afternoon, Data Master.
I have been juggling from one location to the other. I have not been consistent in this
Not a
meeting,
problem.
but
We understand.
I've actually had a beautiful thoughts cross my mind throughout the times that I joined back and in. And now I have this concern. Actually, it's two. The first is, when you have three things, like I major in three things. One is I have my own business, I have
Okay.
people I work for, and I have people I work with, right?
Right.
And all these people have their demands daily. They have their demands daily. So sometimes I get to that point where I'm burnout because
Right.
I'm trying to get one and I'm failing in the others. I start to tell myself, so one part will suffer while the other part can be saved. I can't save everything. And because
Yeah.
of that mindset, I start to discover that before I used to feel so bad and very terrible when I'm not able to do the things that is expected of me, even when uh, the expectation is high. I used to feel bad about it. But recently, when I started telling myself, some parts will suffer, the other will survive, I I stopped feeling that bad, and I sometimes I don't know. I see myself not being, I don't know, there's this attitude I just catch myself and I try to stop myself like why am I responding this way? Or why am I not being um urgent with this? Is it because I'm beginning to have that mindset that one will suffer, others will not, and then I have to call myself to order. And again, I catch myself doing like that mindset is beginning to like what's the right mindset to have to be able to still be a good person, to do what is like the things you're expected to do and still find balance. And when you're not finding balance or you're yet to find balance, how do you respond? Do you how do you respond? Because okay, people say
Yeah.
delegate, and I discovered that if I try to delegate, the level of accuracy and speed I work with, the people I
This
delegate
guy
to
a
don't have
perfectionist.
that. So if
Interesting.
I and I'm afraid to lose that credibility or that expectation because I know how much I had to build to get to that point. And so
Mm.
I'm at the same time I have to apologize. And sometimes I'm tired of apologizing. Like I'm sorry, I could not. I just bail till 2 days later, and I'm like, yeah, the deadline is on Friday, right? I can catch up, and then I'm having issues like but we still need you. I'm like, oh no, no. And then I bail again. And how do you just fix these things? And then your mindset to not
Yeah.
lose, to just think that. What do you think, sir?
I can imagine your frustration because I've been there a lot. Well, one of the hard truths, one of the courage you have to show in some of this situation is tell yourself the truth that hey, guy, you're probably taking up too much. So being able to say no, because if you say yes to things and you have to always say sorry, 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 you lose your credibility too. People will not respect, they will not trust your judgment, they will not respect you because I'd rather not take something I'd rather not say I want to do something and take it and not be able to do it. So, but one way I deal with that is if I can say no outrightly, I say no. Or I tell the person, hey, in fact, one thing I do these days, in fact, I know we have an ongoing thing like that too. If you want me to do something for you, I put the weight, the burden on you to always remind me. If you don't remind me, if I don't do it, we know we have a gentleman agreement that oh you are supposed to be reminding me because I know immediately you told me that and I've forgotten already because another thing has I have 1,000,001 things I'm attending to at the same time. So if you want me to do something, you have to keep reminding me. So that gives me some kind of flex like well if I don't do it it's probably because it did not remind me and that is actually true. Sincerely, that's actually true. So, for instance, what is want me to do for you? I've not been able to do it because not because I want to. I'm intentionally not wanting to do it, but because until I saw you now, I didn't remember you gave me something to do, and that's why and that's why I make it in such a way that oh please remind me. If you keep reminding me, me too. I go shame go catch me once small now. Then I finally do it, and I have experience like that with almost everybody here. So yeah. So you are probably taking up too much, and you have to be sincere with yourself and really prioritize what the things you are doing. Which ones can you do without? Or I know it's hard to say to decide the ones you cannot do without, right? But if you are sincere with yourself, there are some that are not as that don't really matter as much as others. Then, of course, delegation. I'll tell you, delegation is really important. I used to be a perfectionist. I think I'm still a perfectionist too. But at some point, I had to stop worrying because if you drop dead right now, life will go on. Those people you said you think will not do it up to your standard, they will keep on with their lives. So that also taught me a lesson that if you drop dead right now, life goes on without you. In fact, if it is in your office, they'll just do 1 minute silence. By Monday, another person has taken your place. So as a result of that, I just tell myself, okay, calm down. In as much as I want to be perfectionistic, so I mean, in fact, at the end of the day, your success will now be: can you also raise people who can do the job like you? That will now be true success, not that you are only the one always doing it like that. Then for me, I also like to streamline processes. For instance, in RBF now, I know everybody is busy. If you ask all the RBF people, the RBF leaders, right? Since we started RBF, okay, first year I ran it with a committee, involving people like Sunday to Milan, right? We had a virtual meetup committee. From the second year, we now had leaders. From that time, from 2024, since we started till now, we've not had up to 3 meetings, because I feel that anything we can do by chatting on WhatsApp, we don't have to have a meeting to do it. So sometimes people also get people burn themselves out by by not streamlining their processes. So I mean, for me too, I also make my life so simple that some people they believe that, oh, if they want to ask for a recommendation letter, they should call. If you are calling me, you are stressing me out. Just send me a WhatsApp message. That's enough for me. Some people may feel disrespected. If you send them WhatsApp message, not me, because at the end of the day, all I need is just send me the message. That's all. So me, the easiest way to get me is WhatsApp message. If I don't answer immediately, I'm probably sleeping or I'm busy in a meeting or something like that. But as far as the message is there, I'm going to see it. But if you go and send email or you are calling, some people will call on the some people who have called like 5 times. If they have sent a message the first time they called, they would have got the answer to the message, immediately. So you want to streamline your process. You want to make your life very simple. You want to drop some things that you cannot, that that are not that like you feel they are important, but if you really relax, of course, before you get to that point, right, you have thought about streamlining your processes, delegating without having to worry yourself too much, about whether it is done the way you do up to your standard. Of course, you may also give something to somebody to do the process up to a point and then you complete it, which also saves your own time too. And of course, in this age of AI, it's easier to do so many things now. Apart from the hardest thing to use AI for me these days is research, because you also don't want to copy and paste. So that one requires a bit more attention. But when it comes to maybe developing curriculum for my YouTube channel, I mean, all I need is the content, and that I can do within a very short time. So you want to, if you look carefully, you don't need to always have to say sorry to people, because you don't want to also take on what you won't be able to do in the first place. And of course, I know people like you, like me, we want to be everywhere, solving every problem, but that's not possible. We are not God. Even Jesus was only in Judea and Jerusalem and all those places. He needed to train 12 guys that now took the message to the rest of the world, right? So sometimes we think we are superhumans. We are really not. There's only one God, and it is not us. So he's the all powerful, the all knowing. I hope that helps a bit.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
so you may need
very.
to cut down some things. You may need to delegate without worrying so much about perfectionism and all that. Yes, I have a question for Maugbe. He's asking, how can I influence people who are older or more experienced than me without appearing disrespectful? This is a very valid question, and I think you're asking the right person, because right from when I was in primary school, I've always had very sweet relationship with elders, because they say something like, if you know how to wash your hands, you know how to relate with elders. So I mean, to relate with elders, right? Let them never be in doubt that you are a disrespectful person, first of all. Then, I mean, it got to a point that some elders, I can now see them down and lash them with truth, because I have gained so much influence that, I mean, I know people. My easiest way to have influence is teaching mathematics. People know that, oh, you can hardly get a better mathematics teacher than this guy. So I have people like, sometimes some people like my mommy's age, being so respectful, and I'm like, I beg go. So I have to. So when people are also respecting you like that, you also don't want to mess it up, right? So let it not be in doubt ever that you are a disrespectful person. So once people know that you are like that, adults know that you are like that, they can actually relax for you. So to influence people older than you, so don't disrespect them. Of course, that's the starting point. Another thing is, for people older than you, maybe there's a way, there's something they are doing that you don't like the way they are doing it. If you can, so one way, instead of telling them that what you are doing is not good, just tell them, please, can I help you with this thing? So you can now do it your own way. And if you now do it in a way that they now feel that, oh, this thing is even better than the way I do it, you're already gaining their attention like that. You're already beginning to influence them. So when next they want to do that thing, they are looking for Magbi all around that. Magbi, come on, we want to do something. Help us. I mean, I have mommies and daddies all over the world like that, before, if you want to put their children in school or they want to do something, they just feel that sometimes some people even come and I'm like, who told you that I know I can help you with this thing? Because I personally do not think we are that close, but they just feel that they have seen your operations that, oh, this guy, it's like he knows what he's doing. Some people, they will hand over their children to me, like, especially when I was in futsal, they'll be like, this child is your child, please, anything, we trust you, just help us mentor this guy. So you want to help them do well. Maybe if I get more information, it can be more helpful. But I don't know if this way I'm saying it. Be respectful. Don't ever disrespect them, and don't also take their respect for you for granted. Help them do the things they do that you feel they're not doing properly, and of course, let them know that you're a responsible person. You're not just there to mess them up. But if you need more clarity on that, you can ask. You can add uh, more scenarios. But I don't know if what I've said can help a little bit. Joseph Atun is asking, how can I improve my communication in a fast-paced professional environment? Yeah, I can imagine. I can imagine. Well, when it comes to communication in the professional environment, every environment, especially every professional environment, they have their own way of doing things. For instance, I remember when there was a lot of restructuring in the banking sector, right? All this Oceanic Bank, Intercontinental Bank, back in the days. You go to an environment and you have to call your daddy's mate. You have to call them by their first name or more, and that's the policy. So you need to learn what the environment requires and how they do things around there and study people around. Another thing you can also do is in a professional environment like that, can you find somebody who has mastered communication, who somebody who communicates so well that you really admire? Can you get close to the person and be their friend, or just go and meet them that please, I really like the way you communicate. I really like to learn from you. So respect them, serve them, and they can tell you the secrets or they can teach you how to do things, right? So, but I know observation, mentoring, understanding what the environment is about, what the professional environment looks like, because one environment differs from the other. So you want to know what exactly your environment is like. Okay, our guy is saying, how can the common Nigerian mantra, day for who, day for you, hinder one from being a person of influence? I can imagine. Well, I mean, humanly speaking, right? It is a very sensible. I think it is the year year motto for 2026, Abby. I think was it 2026 or 2025? I remember one year it was I've forgotten those things. But I know day for who, day for you is for 2026 or 2025. Well, while that makes sense a lot, right? Humanly speaking, I mean, if you most of the things you have said, in fact, for instance, by the time I met the Kemi I met, year 2025 E-trend exactly. So by the time I met the Kemi I talked about, that was my first time I've ever seen Kemi, right? I didn't even know whether she was a nice person or she was not a nice person. I just went out of my way to make her feel special by remembering her name, and we became very good friends. So, well, day for who, day for you, it can't work if you want to be a leader. Leadership involves sacrifice, right? Sometimes you want to even day for people. You want to be like Shewore, who will even defend his own enemies when they get into trouble. So while that has a bit of sense, but at the same time, of course, if you now even bring it to the Christian place, Jesus was dying for the same people that were killing him. Of course, Jesus has died. You don't need to die, right? So, and that requires some wisdom. So, that can actually hinder if you only want to show up for those who show up for you. That can really be a problem. But of course, you don't want to now also turn to God. That's the other extreme. You don't want to turn to God like I was feeling like then. We have, there's this thing they call savior's complex. You feel that you have the solution to everybody's problem. Even when you are dying yourself, you are just solving everybody's problem. There's a place for that, but everything is about not going overboard. Very nice question, by the way. So if you only did for who did for you, you will only get the privilege of those who did for you. Yeah, right. There's somebody who doesn't even know they should date for you yet. That you can date for so that they can now date for you. Like that. How do you even keep extending that network? So sometimes you have to be the first person to reach out, and then you now see some benefits. Please, doctor, I want to personally talk with after this webinar regards to something that has to do with my career. Excellent. If you have my WhatsApp number, or if you're on the I know somebody's going to put up the link to our platform. From there, you can find my number and reach me on WhatsApp. I'm very open to that. Yeah, would that be all the questions? Or maybe I didn't answer some of the questions well. I want to give more information for me to act on. I'll be very happy to do that. Mr. Moderator? Hello, sir. Hello, moderator. Okay.
Hello, sir. Hello,
Right.
sir.
Hello.
Okay. Yes, sir. Can you hear me?
Sure.
All right. I have a question here from the form. Actually, it
Okay.
has been answered during the session. So the person was
Nice.
asking practical steps to influence. That is what are the practical steps to influence? And I believe it has been answered, which is the first about the 5C:
Right.
credibility,
Mm-hmm.
communication,
Right.
communication,
Mm-hmm.
connection, and courage,
Mm-hmm.
and competence.
Right.
So following these 5 steps, I think to create uh, a pathway for influence,
Mm-hmm.
for influence, starting
Yeah.
from credibility. Somebody need to be credible, build competence in whatever we are doing, and communicate effectively, listen
Right.
actively, communicate
Mm-hmm.
effectively,
Yeah.
and the connection. That is, in creating connection, at times we need to show genuine interest. If there will be any
Mm.
connection, then it start from genuine interest. So if there is no interest, definitely there may not be a connection. And then from genuine
Right.
interest, it translates to creating mutual trust and then supporting others. Then
Right.
the last one, which is a courage, you elaborated on that courage very well. That the courage is not shying away when values are being questioned, either in conduct or being triggered, maybe being questioned. So that there are times that we might see that a value has been compromised,
Mm-hmm.
which is let me use the church as an example. Let me say the sexual sin, and the brothers, the sisters were like, I don't want to talk right now, so that they will not say it was one that was talking good, but courage and the influence works in line together. That we speak the truth at that time, respectfully. Then
Right.
uh then we leave the rest. Like it's not that we talk shabbily, but make sure that our voice is heard. Our voice is heard respectfully.
Right.
And let me just you also talked about limitation. Limitation. The start of influence start when we have built all the maybe skills, the values. It starts from the point where we know that okay, we need to influence things. From the point we know that you don't need to be competent enough before you start. But as you grow, the little things you can do, either by maybe if you have genuine interest. There are some people that they may not even readily have all these 5 C's, competence and all that. It may just be just one C out of it, either connection. Then that connection starts with it by building a genuine interest in people, try connecting with them. Then from there, every other capacity will be built. So thank you.
All right, thank you so much. I have a question from Amafule Chukwemeka again. I heard my friend say, "Don't be a
Okay.
lone wolf. Uh, don't be a lone wolf. Um, don't be isolated. Building your things sometimes come out. It doesn't bother me before, but suddenly I catch myself thinking about how do I unthink this in my head. Well, I don't know what you mean, but you don't want to keep thinking about being alone, or you don't mind being alone. Is that what you're saying? Okay, well, I'll just answer it the way I think.
Sorry,
Okay, yeah, please go
sorry, sir.
ahead. Yes, please.
So when they say being a lone wolf, sometimes it feels
Mm-hmm.
like I don't socialize as much as I'm always on calls, I'm always on meetings, I'm always working on a deadline, I'm always like trying to catch up on something. I'm not really, and I don't express when I'm down. Like I don't express it with them, and they feel like this guy is just in his space, in his head, in his work, in his like you just do your thing. You don't do any other thing that is not. You do little of non-work related. Sometimes I don't care
Mm,
about it when it's I'm like, you guys will understand. I
mm-hmm.
don't go commit, but I catch myself thinking about what they said maybe after a conversation, and I'm like,
Right.
what's going on? Like, should I really care about what they're saying, or I'm just in a phase? After this phase, I probably not. It won't be like this for me, and that's what I mean.
Why do I think you are talking like each time you talk, it just feels like we have many things in common. You know, for for me too, I enjoy my company a lot, but because I know the importance of social connections, right? That's why I try to actively develop that social part of me. Left me, I just want to be on my own, doing my own thing. Leave me in one room with the internet, I'm good to go. But you know what? I discovered a long time ago also that you cannot you cannot go you cannot go far. No, how do I there was this thing I used to say then. You cannot go far without the right people and with the wrong people. Okay, maybe that doesn't even address the issue properly. There's an African proverb that says if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go with others. So at the end of the day, life is not meant to be lived alone. Like you may think you have everything figured out, but you don't know how much. Okay, I mean, using the idea of marriage, I know so you have married people here too, right? Like being married as if I was alone, right, there are things probably I would have done on my own, but being married has actually helped me a lot, made me have peace in some regard where I should normally be struggling. So God even understands why we shouldn't be alone. And it doesn't even have to be about marriage alone, right? Why is it that as Christians, why must you go to church, right? When you can easily watch a service why you can just watch a pastor on YouTube or just join online or something. Because beyond hearing the sermon, the people you connect with. I mean, maybe the blessing you get in church one day may just not even be the message the pastor is preaching. It may just be one conversation you have with. I mean, people get business, yeah, a businessman I know. People get business deals by just maybe you're just having a simple conversation, after service and somebody the that thing you have been praying to God for to meet one big man. Somebody will just be like, oh, that person I know him, let's go. And that's it. So um just like I said the other time, right? It is very easy to care for things and use people, but we want to use things and care for people. So you want to, and like just like I said, too, if you close your eyes, I don't want to see bad people, you also not see good people. So I think that from today you want to update your calendar and say, okay, today is a day to socialize. For the sake of it, maybe just go somewhere, just hang out with somebody, just talk with a random person. Like I listened to one interview by the owner of Landmark. This Landmark that was part of it was demolished for the coastal road. If you have not seen that interview, go and watch it. I think what's the Paul Onwabwanye or something like that. I've forgotten his surname. So that guy, one big opportunity he's been looking for. He just met somebody randomly on the plane, and that was how he got the stuff. He got
Wow,
like somebody just invested like $1 million into his business, just like that,
wow.
just random chance meeting. So from there, I just discovered. So as a business, especially as somebody like you as a business person, why do you think people join Ikoyi Club and all those clubs? It is just not because they like socializing, just because they know that that's where you make real connections. Sometimes, in fact, even in my experience as a researcher here in Japan, sometimes if you want to know the juice that is available to you in the lab, it is during parties, like all those parties we do. Like we just go somewhere, you're just eating, maybe you're just drinking green tea. That's where the professor will be telling you things he would naturally not tell you in the lab.
Wow.
So yeah, so you don't want to play with that at all.
Wow. Thank
So
you.
I know for somebody like you, I mean, because it's somebody like me too, we can be self-sufficient to a very large extent, but that's almost us becoming God, and we are not. And just like I said, there's only one God, and it's not us. Yeah. All right. So we need even God. God needed man to fellowship with, right? How much more us, Mr. Moderator? I think we can start rounding off. If there are no more questions, I think the link to the Real Boys Forum WhatsApp group has been shared already. If you're not there already, you want to join us. Yeah, I think I'm seeing my pastor in the house, Pastor Samuel Jayola. Wow, each time I see him, I'm always like, now small boys, they here. Thanks for joining, sir. All right, I guess it's busy.
Okay.
So moderator, yeah, please.
Okay. All right, sir. Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you, everyone, for making yourself available for the meeting. And I hope we all enjoy the session. And if we enjoy the session, can I see our emojis from the beginning to the end? Can I see our emojis?
Thank you.
Okay, sir.
Okay. All right. I really appreciate everyone, and I'm also appreciating our speaker Dansu for his time and then taking us into this premium workshop. Thank you so much, sir. And I believe with this we can start making influence in whatever capacity we find ourselves in areas we find ourselves. Those things that we think is not proper, we can start from it. We can start with the 5C: credibility, communication, connection, courage. So with that pathway, I believe we'll be able to make influence in our society. We've come to the end of the session, and this to tell us that our meeting link, our group link, sorry, is in the chat box, so you can join the meeting, you can join the group through that link, and then our next virtual meetup will be coming up on June by Saturday of June, second Saturday. So the time and date will be communicated to us either second Saturday or it will be coming in June. So for the time and everything will be communicated to us in due time. So if you are not in the WhatsApp group, please kindly join. Kindly join. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, sir.
Thank you for moderating. God bless you. See you in the group. We'll continue our conversations there. We are all getting blessed, and I know everybody's getting better.
Prof,
Thank
can
you.
you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
I want to appreciate you and the organizers. It has been a wonderful time. In fact, the short time, I've almost forgotten and said, wow. And I've
Wow,
been
thank you
preparing
so much,
myself
sir.
to just join immediately you started. So, but now this just a few time. No. I really want to thank God for being part of it.
Yes, sir. We have it recorded, so
in
it will be
spite
made
of,
available as soon as we upload it.
all right. Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
I
Thank you,
appreciate.
sir.
All right. God
Yes,
bless
sir.
you. All
All
right.
right,
Thank
sir.
you.
Okay, sir.
Okay. All right.
Okay, bye.
Bye. Thank you.